Work ethic is not taught
Nope.
through words. It's through action.
Absolutely. Everyone that's been working for us, this is not just a job. It's a basic skill that they're learning from basically everything, from cooking to prepping to sweeping to mopping.
But you keep saying that, but do our kids really sweep?
Come on.
I'm being serious.
Here we go. But this is what I'm saying. Like, it's the parents that we should show these kids. I feel like a lot of these kids nowadays are just now learning that basic skill. It's our fault.
I've had moms like sit in on an interview.
It's crazy. No matter what you do in life, you got to put 110%. It doesn't matter what it is.
Hi guys, I am Tatiana.
And I am Val.
We are the co-founders of Boost Bowls, and this is our podcast.
Risk and also.
Yes. So we took a break last week. We didn't record anything because it was the holidays. So we decided to take some time off and focus on our kids and family and a bunch of work stuff for the season.
The seasonal items.
Seasonal
and
items
they're actually
coming soon. By the time you listen to this, it will be out and available. So stay tuned.
Okay, so this episode is...
We're going to be talking about employees. We've been in business for 10 years, and we have seen a lot of amazing people come in, work with us, have grown. They started like high school.
Well, they started high school.
Now they're like graduated college, some of them. Some of them have kids, got married. Does that make you feel old?
Sometimes. I still don't feel that old. I mean, like when I talk to them, it makes me, like when you say it like that.
When I put them in the system and there's date of births, that makes me feel old.
Now, I think more before, like it was...
Like when somebody is born in like 2005, like I remember 2005, I was graduating high school. And they were born.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I said, like, honestly, it's been a roller coaster, but it's, seeing these kids grow, and some of them have kids.
I love that. And then we bring them in, and it's really cute.
Some of them have moved. Some of them have businesses on their own. They always, we get some of them that call us for business advice, which is,
business or even work. They're getting new jobs. They have reached out.
Yeah, so it's been amazing. It's been
I loved our videos that we did for our anniversary, 10 years of Boost. So some of them submitted like videos telling their story and memories at Boost, and it was really nice. I will say I kind of cried to a couple of them. It was so cute. So,
but yeah, we've been through some good and some bad and some crazy.
So that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit. But really, this episode is about work ethic 101.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right?
I keep saying that.
Work ethic.
Work ethic.
Say it again.
Work ethic. I don't know where you say it too many times.
All right. So we have a little bit of a process to get a job at Boost Bowls. So we'll talk about that and how we handle our hiring process.
I think it was one of the best things. I don't know how you came up with that. I still don't know, but
no one knows what it is yet. So let's talk about that. So we get all of our applicants. I usually will do the interview with them first and kind of, get some basic information. It's all really basic things. Most of the people that apply are either in high school or in college. So, a lot of them, it's their first job. They're nervous. So I don't expect the interviews to be anything like crazy. But I do look at like little details on how they communicate. I think that's more important than anything. But once you interview, we do a second in-person interview that we've called like a mini audition, basically, where we come in and you'll do like basic tasks at Boost. But we'll get into that. But first, let's talk about some of the applicants that we've gotten and what makes some people stand out versus others. A lot of it is just kind of how you fill out the application for me. That's what I look at. I want to make sure when we ask you for your name, you put in your full name. We ask for a phone number, you put a phone number. I can't tell you how many people will skip like a phone number or an email. And I'm just like, well, you know what? I can't even reach out to you. You just skip the two most important steps.
Well, my favorite is when you have some like how much you want to get paid.
And then they say, what's your favorite number? Then hit
$25 an hour at 16.
And they've never had a job. So but you know what that comes from? That's really, I will guarantee you most of them are like, have been babysitting and they get paid $20 an hour, whatever it is to babysit.
I understand, but to me, it's just like, and you don't love you. Sometimes I just want to call them because, by the way, anybody put a number like that you've never had a job, you're not getting a call. I can tell you right now. The best thing you should always do when applying for a job, just so you know, if you listen to this, is to always write negotiable. Yeah. Because whenever you put a number on, like
it limits you. I think a little
exactly. Because this way, like if I see that you come in and you got experience or anything like that, then obviously I'm not going to pay you minimum wage. But if it's your first job and you've never done anything, then it just depends on like.
I remember taking a business class in high school actually as like an elective.
Yeah.
And they said that they literally recommended that when you apply for jobs, you write negotiable when you're young. So I think that's the best way to do it, because when you put some of these higher numbers in, I automatically think I was going to say overqualified, but sometimes that's not.
They should probably start teaching these things at school, because to me, I feel when they put a number like that, I'm just like, do they even know how much minimum wage is nowadays? Like, how do you just come up with that number? Like, what makes you qualified for $25 an hour?
And I think as a parent, I would call my child out. Like, why do you think you're worth that amount? Like, hey, maybe you are. Yeah. But I would say definitely negotiable. Make sure you fill in all the questions, the basic questions, availability, describe your availability, is it due to school, what you're doing. So we really have an understanding of your schedule, because yes, you may get hired and you can probably lie and say, oh yeah, I don't do a sport, I don't do this and that. And then you get hired, but we usually figure it out pretty quickly. So,
and that's why we
do any job
auditions, so we can get to know them better.
Yeah. So once we get through the first part, the other thing is, what about parents that come in with their kid and ask us if we're hiring? And you have the 16-year-old standing right next to the parents, and they're asking, "Are you hiring?" And then they ask all the question, and the person, like, this poor kid is just standing.
It's like they don't even want the job. It's like if you want your kids to get a job, shouldn't they be the one asking for a job?
Yeah, even if you take them, maybe like stay outside.
Let them bring him, like tell them they're going, because if you show up, that just shows me that your kid is he's just careless. Like, like I don't understand like how these parents do that nowadays. I understand that they're 16, they're young, and they never had a job. But they should be a little comfortable to go and ask for a job. Or if you're not going to ask for a job, just apply online.
Exactly. But if they're not comfortable, then they need to learn that skill of walking in and communicating and asking a question. You're not going to be there to do the job for them.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's just ridiculous that they do that. And I don't understand like how some of these parents, I get it that they're pushing their kids and they want them to get a job, but they need to push them to go do it themselves and go in and try to fill their application and answer their question.
I've had moms like sit in on an interview.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I was
like, what am I answering?
Like, unfortunately, right away, to me, it's just a no.
It's like, when are you available? Oh, she's available anytime. She doesn't do anything.
Right.
But this, and then it's like, does she play any sports? Yes, she actually plays this sport and that sport and that sport. And then the fall.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that part too. That's a whole nother thing. So really just let your child go in, apply for a job on their own. I do have a lot of people we know that will ask for a job for their child. And I get that too. But most of the time they apply.
Yeah.
And then they reach out and kind of put in a good word like, hey, just FYI, this person applied. It's my child. It's my niece. It's my nephew, whatever it is. And I'm just putting in a good word, or just random.
Yeah, and that's okay for you to do that.
Love that.
You just shouldn't show up
asking for the job.
Asking for a job, or like,
or
put in a good word like, hey, my child applied. I just wanted to let you know, because some of them know us and stuff. Yeah. Like, that's fine. But for you to bring your kid into a store and ask for application and answer questions and all that, to me, I think,
And they don't say a word.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Don't do that. If you're listening to this, don't ever bring your kids. Like, push them to figure out and do it themselves.
Yeah, they want a job. They need to be able to walk in on their own.
Exactly.
You know? So, all right. And then, so I'll interview and then I'll ask what availability is. And actually, this is a good point too. Sometimes people say, I'm available anytime. I'm like, great. So then during the interview, I explain how we do a second in-person interview. So I'm like, well, all right, well, can you come in on, whatever date? And then that's when a lot of the truth starts coming out. Just like, oh no, I have to do this after school. Oh, I have this other obligation. And then that's when I get into a little bit of details. I'm like, well, how often is that? And then you learn that it's a weekly thing or, 5 times a week. They play a sport or they're committed to something else, which is totally fine. But it's so important to be transparent right away, so we understand what your schedule looks like, and we can see if we can work around it.
With their parents too, like sometimes I can't stand is that they want them to get a job, but once they get a job,
there's a lot that happens, but we're not there yet, Val. Slow down.
I'm just kind of like basically,
I know.
From here to there, but
that would bring them in, yeah.
When we do the audition, I think that's the best thing we ever did, to be honest with you, because I always said, like, listen, even though it looks like it's a fun place to work, it's still a lot of work. Yeah. It's very frustrating. You're working in the kitchen, food is not for everybody. And I explain that to them as soon as they come in. I'm like, listen, the reason why we do this is because this is not for you to like learn everything today, because you're not going to learn.
Right.
This is just for you to come, check it out, see how you like it.
It's for both, to be honest. It's not.
But I use that so I can make them feel comfortable. So because obviously they're nervous. They've never done.
Especially when we've done when we do our store opening, we do 5 to 10 at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think they somehow think it's a competition.
Yeah, we have to compete.
Yeah, we're like, this is not a competition. We actually want to hire all 10 of you.
So what I look for is, I always say, like, I could teach anybody how to basically do things, because anybody's, can learn how to do. It's not like it's brain surgery there. We're making smoothies, we're basically cutting and things. Yes, there's some hard stuff, but it's not something that they can't learn.
Right.
It's pretty easy. I think what I look for always is their personality.
Yes.
That is key for me. If they're paying attention, if they're talking, if they're asking questions, that shows me that, like, okay, like they're going to get along with customers. They're going to get along with our employees. They're fun to work with.
And a lot of times it's their first job, so they are nervous, and we get that. But having the conversation a little bit, I think they start getting more comfortable.
Yeah, of course.
And then they open up, and then that's when we're like, okay, you got this. But we have them do basic tasks. It's really like, hey, make a smoothie by following the directions up there. Peel a lemon, peel an orange.
Which is something that, like, it's not normal.
And it's hard.
Eating a lemon and an orange, and I laugh about it all the time because it's not something that people do every day.
Right.
But I explain to them, and I'm like, try to do this, and, they kind of, like, get nervous, but after, like, 2-3 lemons, they get it, and they're like, oh, my God, this is so easy. It's so nice. The reason why I do all that is because I want to get them comfortable and just make them basically just to see, like, where they're at.
And if they're willing to learn.
Exactly.
Because if you get frustrated right away and kind of give up, then.
And I've had that.
We know
I've had that happen.
Not going to be the job.
And then that's when I tell them, like, you see, because I've had that happen before where, like, they just get really frustrated.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like, this and that. And then that's when I know, like, this is not for you.
This is just the beginning. It's going to get very overwhelming, and you're going to have, 20 orders. And
you got to be able to multitask.
And a whole bag of lemon to peel.
You got to be able to know how to use a knife because, again, these are young kids, but it's a lot of safety in there that we need to make sure that they understand. Are they okay? Because some kids, they will come in there and as soon as you give them the knife, they get really nervous. They don't even want to.
They have no idea how to use it.
Yeah,
it's just like, but think about this. At 16, you had never held a knife in your life.
It's honestly kind of sad to me, and I don't blame them. They hate me for this, but it's parents.
No, but I will say there's things that even we have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, and things I was doing at my like son's age at 11 and that you were doing, you forget that your child has grown up that fast and you didn't teach them.
You should. I'm not saying like let them whatever, but you should teach your kids.
I mean, our kids know how to a little bit.
You should always cook with your kids because that's an interaction too. Like with basic skill, doing things with your kids. We do that all the time. My mom used to do the same thing. Like I've learned how to peel things because my favorite dish was potatoes.
Yeah.
And she would sit there and like I would sit there and do things.
Well,
I think it's important we do that.
I didn't peel because we just use a knife. We didn't have a peeler.
I
don't know. We just use knives, and I think there's I'm Brazilian, and I don't know. We just didn't have like tools for everything. Like, come on, there's a tool now to pick the stem out of the strawberry.
When you told me that, I'm like, I mean, it's a peeler.
I
really should have a peeler.
I think we had one, but we just so used to using it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, again, we're peeling oranges, lemons, and things like that. It's not normal. I laugh about it when they come and they kind of laugh too because it's not a normal thing. But it's something that I make them do, and just to see like how they're reacting to it. And then what I also do is like as soon as they start a little bit, I walk away.
Right.
And I just let them. I go do things or whatever. Let them play around with it. I want to see if they're continuing what they're doing, or if I'm like getting busy. Yeah. And they finish, I'm going to see if they're going to just stand there or they're going to try to do
or ask or say like, hey, I'm done. Or are they just going to stand there like in shock and quiet?
So right away, that's how you know who's going to be good and who's going to, be there.
Right.
Again, like I don't judge everybody the same way all the time, but it's one of those things that like, I think it's important for every job. I think for me, like, I think it's the best thing that we've done. I wish, even for me, when I used to get jobs, that I went and tried it and they didn't just hire me right away because I don't want to hire somebody and then the next day they're going to hate it. It's not work for me.
And most of the people that apply for us are customers and have been customers for a really long time. So I would hate for them to come in and then hate the job and then feel uncomfortable. And then they never want to come back as a customer. So it's for both of us.
For both of us. And it's frustrating. Like I said, with especially on our busy like summer, like holidays, summer days, it's very stressful. I mean, I ain't working in the kitchen. These girls get upset. Like sometimes when they're working, the girls that have been there, if you're not going to pick up quick,
and our employees do everything. I mean, we don't hire anyone to just clean or just prep or just do dishes. Everybody does a little bit of everything, which is awesome. I think we've had a lot of parents actually thank us, right? They're like, wow, like, thanks. Like, my child knows how to clean now.
I know.
Clean up their room.
But to me, I hear that a lot. And I just kind of like get it a little weird about that because when I hear them saying that, like, and they come because obviously it's their 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Majority of the times when we hire somebody, the parents always show up to like just kind of introduce themselves.
Yeah, me too.
And they will say things like that. But me, like, I try to play it cool. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, they're 16.
Yeah.
They should know how to do some of these things. Like, it drives me crazy is like sweeping, for example.
Yeah.
Like, do they clean the room? I keep saying like a lot.
I know, but you keep saying that. But do our kids really sweep?
Absolutely. I see them all the time. They even get the vacuum. Like,
I make them take a vacuum, but sweeping with an actual broom.
Come on.
I'm being serious.
Seriously.
They know how to. No, we have a sweeper and we have a vacuum.
We have a broom even in the garage. Too,
but when do they really use it?
They use it.
Like, we use a broom. Like, you actually make.
Here we go.
Broom.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, it's the parents. It's the parents that we don't like. We should show these kids how to do it. I feel like a lot of these kids nowadays are just not learning that basic skill, and it's like it's our fault.
Because it's easier a lot of times for us to just do it than call them over to do it. Yeah, I find myself doing that a lot. Like lately, even you put the dishes away yesterday. And I'm just like, I don't want you putting the dishes away. I want the kids to put the dishes away.
That's true.
And you're just like, wow, it's done. I'm not going to call them by the time you come and done. I'm like, no, I understand they're going to take 30 minutes to empty the dishwasher. But you know what? They need to learn. And
But again, we do have them do basically everything. There's no one job there. I don't hire anybody to be on the register or, just prepping, or we don't have any of that. We don't have a cleaning person. We are the cleaning people. We are the prepping people. We're the talking people. Everything.
The customer service, everything.
When I hire somebody, I explain that from the start. Like everything that you see in this room has to be done. Whether it's cleaning the bathrooms, sweeping, mopping, cleaning. We don't have any cleaning people, and they understand. And majority of you that know our store, you see that our kitchens are open. I do that for a reason, because I want people to see, how we are and what's happening around. There's been many times where, I go to help out. Sometimes I'm not at the stores as much. And first thing I actually do is I go and wash dishes mostly, because I enjoy doing that. And most of the time I think it's easier for me to do that than just get on the way.
But everything else, they already have their movements and everything going.
And I've had people that come up to me and said, "Why are you washing dishes?" To me, I don't see it as like washing dishes is a low thing to do. Like I would do anything. There's no such thing as too,
See, I usually take the register because I really feel like I'm in the way, and I'll do the dishes if I had to.
And then you're very slow, so
I know, because the way these girls chop like bananas, I need to make a video of it, because just like, how the heck do you do that? I don't even cut bananas like that.
And you're doing things every single day, the same thing.
It's like,
it just,
like
it becomes a skill. And that's the thing that I always say, like, everyone that's been working for us, this is not just a job. It's a basic skill that they're learning.
They are.
From basically everything, from cooking to prepping to sweeping to mopping. Now, by the time they're going to college, they know how to do certain things. They make their own food. They're sweeping, they're cleaning. So that's why, like, working with us, it's also really good, because it teaches them a lot of skills. And that's what I love about that.
And no job is too small.
No, job is too big.
Too big, exactly. So even our managers, we really kind of guide them like that too. Like, you need to step up and do everything you would want everybody else to do. The same way Val, steps in, they need to step in the same way and actually work harder. I'm a big believer in that. If you want your staff to do something, you need to be doing it like 10 times better.
You have to lead. And honestly, our managers are probably, I'll say it, our managers do more than what our employees do. And that's why they're great at what they do, is because they've been taught from the start to do it that way. They don't just make the schedules or fix issues. They're actually there.
They're very hands-on and they're working, and
they make sure that everybody's like, they're delegating, they're doing everything they're supposed to do, and they're making sure that all the employees are comfortable. They know what they're doing. They're training. So we don't have just one, task there. Everybody basically does equally.
Right.
Everything.
Do you remember that time when we had the Southbury location and the owner of literally the entire building?
Oh, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say.
But
yes.
He was out.
Yeah,
like cigarette butts all over the
outside, and I was like,
driveway.
I looked at you and I was like, here is a millionaire, probably a billionaire.
I mean, he's definitely
outside picking up cigarette butts, and I asked him, I was like, "What are you doing?" Laughing, because I joke around with him all the time, and he says to me, he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Why are you picking those cigarette butts? Don't you have somebody that can do this? Isn't there people that from the building?" He said to me, "God gave me hands for a reason. There's no difference between that job and this job. If I see something that doesn't belong there."
No. His point was like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for my employee to walk outside when like I'm right here. I see it and I'm going to get it done.
And most people won't.
Yeah.
Most people won't do it. But, it just shows you that it doesn't matter where you are in life. There's nothing wrong with doing even dirty jobs.
Yeah, just like you getting the call from like Danbury on our 1-year anniversary that there was a toilet problem.
That was disgusting, to be honest with you. But you know what? Again, it wasn't something that like the manager offered to go and do it. Listen, somebody had an accident. I've heard these stories a million times where people, destroy bathrooms and stuff like that. things happen. But I could have easily said, you know what, you guys go ahead and take care of it. But I stepped one for the team and I did what I had to do, and I had to clean it, and then I had to get a cleaner person because it was just too much.
Yeah.
But I got it done. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we're all human beings. Things happen. You got to just, it's a memory at the end of the day.
No, it's true. So I had to like step in and kind of like do whatever you need to do to get it done.
But I got to tell you, I've had situations where employees have, complained about certain things, not more like.
What do you mean? Like, this is not my job?
It's just basically it's not my job. I think, to me, like, everybody, I think, has been really fair with things like that. I think it's more like, to me, which is crazy, is sweeping and mopping. I've had employees where, like, they didn't want to go in the front and sweep or mop because they didn't want their
people to see them. I remember that. Yeah.
See them doing that. And I never forget the first time I got really upset because I was like, who you think you are to, like, not want to do that when everybody else does it? Like, what's the difference between me and you or her?
She was so, like, embarrassed by it. Like, it was so degrading to her. We were just
first, that's what I thought it was. And, after talking to her, like, I did understand her a little bit. I think it was more like, it's when you're one of those kids that you feel like in high school, you're the girl or the guy, and then here you are in the front, you're sweeping and mopping, and you got some high school kids that know you in the front. You feel a certain way. I get that, but
I can't wait till people grow out of that because it's so irrelevant.
It is, but
and how the conversations. It's just like, be proud of like what you're doing,
and that's what I always say.
And work hard.
No matter what you do in life, you got to put 110%. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's gonna. You're going to go through life where you're going to do so many different jobs, and it doesn't matter what it is. You should never be ashamed of what you do. I think I created a pretty cool business where people like going. That's why we get, so many people that want to work for us. But again, I think they forget that there's not just one job. You're going to have to sweep, you're going to have to mop, you're going to have to clean.
Well, that's why we bring them in so they could really see what it's like. And then you tell them, hey, if you like it, message us, let us know what you think so we can move on, and then we'll go ahead and actually set up like a 4-hour trial to again still see if they're into it, because it may not be what you were thinking it would be, and that's okay. It really is not for everybody.
Listen, nobody's holding anybody down. Like, if it's something they you're not comfortable with being there, then you shouldn't really be there. But when you get a job and somebody tells you to do something, it doesn't matter who's watching you or seeing you. They understand this is a job. It's not bringing your level of popularity or whatever down. I don't know why people see it that way. But in her defense, after having the conversation, I understood it a little bit. And she's like, it's not that I didn't want to go and do it. It was just the people that were in front, I didn't want them to see me do that. And I said, okay, because But
it started being, wasn't it like every time? It wasn't that just one day.
That's what I heard at first.
Yeah. And then she said it was just that one time?
She said it was just that one time, but apparently it happened. And when I had that conversation, she explained to me, I said, well, I just want to make sure that this doesn't happen, because if I let you do that, like, what's the difference between you and this other person? Everybody is the same. We're on the same level here. If you're manager, if I come in and you see me doing the same thing, sweeping, mopping, doing dishes, there's no difference here. Like, it's a job. That's just what it is. Right. But anyhow.
Well, I will say, so our number one rule too, with everything, right? So I look for this on our interview. If I set up an interview and I give you a time, I send you a link, I expect you to be there ready to go. But actually, one time, I never forget this. And this girl, she works for us now. And this was a big reason why I wanted to bring her in. I set up the interview, and for some reason, it didn't link on my calendar. So I forgot I had the interview. Not only did she text me, she tried to call me, and I remember I think I was in a meeting that day, so my phone was on Do Not Disturb, but she even reached out and called the store to follow up. And for me, that was like super impressive for somebody that's barely 16 years old to go out of her way to really reach out. I will tell you, I've been late or lost track of time, And I've had people not even message me to like, hey, are we still interviewing or whatever. Most of my interviews now I do virtual. We don't do in person anymore. So I was super impressed with that. Like, to me, that shows like great work ethic.
Yeah.
Like, that is just the start for her. And
that's why she's
some big things.
So
yeah. So I love that. But number one, always show up on time. We totally understand emergencies happen, but your emergency can't be the same every day. Traffic is not an excuse. Wherever you live, you know what your traffic is like.
Especially with today's technology.
Yeah.
When I hear excuses like, oh, there was traffic or like this or that, to me, it's being careless.
Yeah.
Because you have on your phone, basically, or anything nowadays, you can check with the traffic. When you know what time you got to be at work.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if like you have to be there at 7:30 in the morning and sometimes you're up at 6 and you're trying to get ready and you want to get out of there, traffic's gonna happen. But when your shift starts at 12 or
but
3
even
o'clock,
7:30 we don't tolerate because
don't,
you know what the morning routine is like.
My morning routines are actually better. Like, it's mostly the second shift sometimes when they're like,
we've had issues with morning people.
But I'm saying, like, majority, believe it or not, it's the afternoons. And to me, I'm just like, and there's happened where I would show up there and they're sitting in the car waiting like 2-3 minutes. But I have this thing where I always say, like, listen, if you're on time, you're late. Everyone knows I do not tolerate tardiness. Being late, if you're more than 3 times late, I can assure you, for me, I don't care how good you are. If I see that you're late, it just shows basically how you do your work.
Yeah.
So I don't tolerate that. And
this one person was always late.
Oh my God.
And then when
recently.
Yeah. And I remember, I think we had to have a conversation with the manager, like, hey, you need to call this person out. Like, this is not okay. And she basically said to the manager something like, well, this isn't even a real job. Shouldn't there be like a buffer period or a grace period? And we're just like, well, what is your definition of a real job?
Like, first of all, how do you go to your own manager? Like, who said, like, I'm just saying, for me, when I had, even back in the day, my jobs, for me to go to my boss and say, this is not even a real job, shouldn't there be a buffer?
It's just so disrespectful. Like, why not just acknowledge it and just say, I'm so sorry, I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
Or, hey, like, I can't do better. Like, for some reason, this doesn't work for me.
This is not a real job. Well, no one's forcing you. Why are you? Yeah. Like, if this is not a job, obviously it's not a forever job, but this is a job. A job is a job. No matter what you do, if it's a job and it's paying your bills, you're getting a check at the end of the week. It is a job.
It's a job. It's a job.
So as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's it. For me, it's like, those are the things that like I always look at. And
that's one of the things I really love about sports and being on a team, because I think it really guides our kids in teaching them responsibilities. Not every coach is big on it, but one of my son's soccer coach
was huge.
Always about like, you guys show up 30 minutes before. I think it was 30 minutes for game, 15 minutes for practice at least before. And that really guided him. And listen, he depends on us. So there was times that we were late, but he was calling us way in advance.
I mean, honestly, I don't think we're ever late anymore. I mean, there's times where, his practice is, let's say, at 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
He plans it way ahead.
An hour before, because he wants to make sure that, like,
and his new coach now isn't even that strict
because he uses that same method. Yeah. But that's why, like, anything you do, you got to learn from the start. And some of them, and that's why these sports are actually great. And I actually like when they play sports, because they learn how to, like, teamwork.
Yes.
They learn how to,
we love when people apply and do play sports. The problem is that some of the people that have applied, I really think it's more of a parent thing, because if I want my kid to play a sport every single season and, top level high school, when do you expect them to work?
And
and then not only that, And then, so they play sports, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, my parents, we go to the mountain every weekend, but they ski, and I'm like, well, that sounds lovely. Or every single vacation they're away for. And we are busy busier on the holidays. Anytime there's no school, that's when, Boost Bowls is busier. So I also think it's really stressful for these kids to get jobs, which is great. They got a job. Their parent told them they have to get a job. But now they have to do all these sports, keep their grades up, and go on all the family events. But then they're the ones requesting those time off. And the parents, I feel like if you're making your kid get a job, then you're also not taking the job seriously. You kind of discredit it, and then it's kind of creating that for their future. Kind of like, this isn't a big deal of a job.
If you're listening to that, again, to make sure if you're gonna have your kid get a job, make sure you can't do both. I mean, unless they're doing a little bit of a sports, you can't expect, because there's way too much on their plate. Like, I see some of these kids,
they're stressed.
They're so stressed. Yeah, it's like they're playing sports. Then they leave there. They have to come and work. They
usually
no days off.
If any of our high school
they're always tired
that play sports, we usually recommend they take that season off. So if it's a fall sport, they're not working in the fall. If it's winter, they're not working in the winter. Occasionally, maybe they pick up a shift here and there, maybe on the weekend, but it's pretty intense. Like, if you have sports 5 days a week and you only have 2 days off, plus you got to do school things, I think you deserve the 2 days off. I would not push my kids.
I see that a lot, especially like in Newtown.
Yeah.
We see that a lot. Like, a lot of these kids are drained and they come to work tired. Sometimes they come right after school, the days that they don't have practice, for example, and they come to work and they're even hungry. So like, I'm always kind of like telling them like, hey, as soon as they come in, and I tell the managers all the time when I'm not there. And most of the time I'm not there, but I tell them, as soon as these kids come to work, make sure you ask them, because a lot of times they're probably hungry. They just want to finish the job. They can't get any breaks and this and that. Make sure they eat before they start, because they just look exhausted.
It's a lot on them, and we've seen it go, they'll start and they think they can handle it. Then they do it for 2-3 months and they really have to quit. And it, because they're calling out, they're telling us things last minute, and that's just such a bad look. And I get it. I feel bad for them, but at the end of the day, we have a business to run. What's crazy
to me is that I've had a couple of them that actually set me down and said, I need a little break. You mind if I take off, a couple of weeks or things like that? And I'll be like, I'm thinking they're quitting.
Yeah.
And this happened a couple of weeks ago too, where a girl was like, I'm trying to work on my mental health. And I'm just like, I look at them and I'm just like, mental health. When they say that to me, I'm just like, what is going on? Because they look fine and everything. But what I forget is that they're using that because they're so stressed out between college visits, sports,
right,
working, their parents having to do like everything, and they're trying to help their parents. Some of them are like literally working to help their parents.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they say that, the first time I heard that was actually a couple of years ago. I would say to myself, I'm like, what is wrong with these kids?
Yeah.
But they really do have a lot. Nowadays, it's like, it's way too much in their head. And, I think us as parents, we need to kind of realize a little bit that we need to slow it down, because there's way too much happening on these kids nowadays.
Yeah.
It really is.
No, I agree. And I think if I want to push my son, or daughter to play sports year round, then we understand that they're not going to have a job. Or I think if that's the case, that's when you possibly look, instead of, applying for Boost Bowls that close at 7-8 o'clock, then maybe that's when you go to a restaurant job that you can work 1 day a week, but then at least it's open till, I don't know, midnight. No, you come work later.
It's hard because, especially them in high school, they don't want them working late because they.
No, I'm just talking about weekends, because a lot of times people are like, oh, but my sports are done at, by 6 o'clock. And I'm like, well, we close at 7. They're like, oh, I can work for an hour. I'm like, no, I'm not bringing you in for an hour. And then can you imagine how long it's going to take to train that person that works, an hour a day a week? It's just, it doesn't make sense. But I think parents just need to if you're allowing your kid to get a job and you want them to get a job, then you should also take it seriously for them. Not book a family vacation every other month on every single
Because it
holiday.
puts them in a dark position too. It's like they can't really do anything because they have to basically do
Or
it.
what's worse, I've had people like call out an hour or two before their shift and like, hey, I can't get to work because I'm watching my siblings and my parents aren't home yet. And I'm just like, I feel bad. I get it. Listen, I grew up babysitting my brother, but my parents didn't expect me to get a job. Like, you can't just tell your kid, oh, just call out of your job. Like, it's not a big deal. It's a really big deal. You're letting down, forget us, because we're not as involved in the day-to-day, but we have managers that you don't necessarily have somebody available to cover every second.
And then they have to,
and then they're covering shifts, they're working a double. You're letting your coworkers down. So people really need to understand it's not, you're working at a grocery store and you call out and now there's one minus bagger or something.
This is
at a store, you're needed.
You're needed. We don't just bring anybody that just stand around.
No.
You're there to basically work and do everything that's needed. Now, when you're short staffed, one person, it's not that easy for us to call somebody and be like, hey, just come in. And most of the time, we have some pretty good staff, but it's not that easy to like.
No, and people fill in, but still, it's also just not fair to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even on the interviews, I tell them straight up, listen, this is not a job that you can call out when it's our first sunny day of the year.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're on social media. Your coworkers are going to find out. I can't tell you how many times
we don't tolerate
best friends, right? People that are best friends calling out each other because of something like that. Somebody called out and then the best friend would be like, she called out because she went to the beach, or literally would tell us straight up. And I'm just like, what kind of friend are you? Why would you throw your friend under the bus like that? It's like, I don't care. Like, I just had to
I had to be near work and she's not here. Yeah.
So, but I appreciate that. And I think it's important for people to realize when you get a job, take it serious, or don't get a job. Then play all the sports you want to play, go on every single vacation.
Well, this is why, we deal with a lot, when you're dealing with a lot of kids and all, which is, listen, I love it. Honestly, it's been a blessing. It's been great to see these kids grow. And, we have one of the most amazing staff, and
we have such a great team, and their energy is amazing. And, we go through, some stores have better energy than others.
They love to compete.
Yeah. And I think right now, most of the stores are pretty like good, high energy.
I think we're pretty cool bosses, right? I mean,
you always want to be a cool boss.
I mean, for a while I wasn't. I was like, I had to learn.
I don't know if you're still.
I don't like to call myself a boss, and I tell them, like, I'm more their friend than anything else. I mean, listen, I have my moments.
You do.
But honestly, like, I've created this really good relationship with all of them, which I love, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, I want them to enjoy working there.
I think you do have a lot of tough love experience, which is great for them to learn as well, because you don't sugarcoat things.
I don't.
And, like, he drives me insane sometimes because he can come across pretty strong.
But I showed him right away. Like, listen, as long as you're doing your job, I don't care what happens. All right. Yeah. We could be friends outside, but when it comes to working, when we're here,
well, don't take it as personal, right?
Well, I never take it. And I tell them the same way. If I yell at you because of something, you can't take it personal. It's my job to teach you these ways. Now, if you don't do it the right way, then, because whatever you do today, that's what you're going to do tomorrow. So basically every time, and I you know me, I always say, and I use this a lot, whatever you do, make sure you put 110%, whether you're talking to a customer, or, because remember, the customers that walk in there, I still use our stores. And listen, this is a family business. Still, we're not a huge corporate.
No.
So I tell them all the time, like, make sure that every person that walks in there, we say hello.
Is greeted. Don't try to hide in the back all like scared and shy. No,
because these are the customer. Without these customers,
Yeah.
You're like, they're the ones that are paying our bills.
Right.
Basically, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
So make that basically.
It kind of teaches them some social skills
Oh, of
too.
course.
You got to be open and be able to communicate with people.
Majority of them, honestly, like they're
Yeah, but you learn, right? Because I think right now we're training some people are a little bit more shy. And they're like, hi. And we're like, no, you say, hi, how are you? And like screaming out.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It's been fun. Listen, you know, a lot of these kids, again, they start there, and a lot of them have become basically like family and not just friends. Like the way they interact with each other and everybody, the way they treat each other, and even when they move away, they still
They
like
stay in touch.
stay in touch. I mean, think about it. We had a girl in Hawaii, which
Yeah.
I actually made that, like, I think till this day I say I made that happen. Girls go and visit her all the way down there.
Well, she such an awesome person, but was always down. And you could just tell her energy wasn't there. Had just graduated college and just was miserable that she was still working at Boost Bowls after graduating college.
Well, here you go. Like, we're gonna start. If we're gonna bring this on right now, I'm gonna have to say a little bit about this stuff. Here, I'm always about being positive, even with them all the time. I always tell them, like, listen, go out there, do what you're gonna do. Never feel bad in what you're doing. But if you're gonna go to college and you're gonna do something, remember what you're working on, and just make sure, because when she finished college, she just couldn't find a job in here. It wasn't just because that her college degree didn't work. She was in the wrong place.
Yes, exactly.
So every day she would come in, it was more like she was just so down, and I'm like, what's wrong?
Right.
You know, like, what's going on?
But there's so much pressure. These kids, they're young. Like,
You
just
know,
think about it.
You
You graduated college, you're 22, 23 years old. Now you have this massive debt. You're not getting a job in your field. But at the end of the day, if you graduate college and you're still working with us, that's okay. But be proud of it. Own it. While you're there, be the best employee you can be.
You'll figure it out.
And it will
Everybody
happen.
does. No matter what you do, there's a reason where everything we've done,
Yeah.
God has got us in so many ways that, like, no matter what you do, it's not going backwards. You're trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
You can't stress it, but you can't also let things just be.
I think that girl that we had talked about the timing and everything, I think she was one that was like either in college or finishing college or had finished and was like, oh, this isn't like a real job. But at the end of the day,
I don't even know why I keep bringing.
no, because I just think it's so important that whatever job you're doing, do it, like you said, 110%.
It doesn't matter.
Don't say this isn't a real job or this isn't my forever job. Whatever. I don't care, but you're there. So do the best job you can and be memorable. Be that employee that we look back on and we're like, wow, she was amazing.
You're getting a paycheck is a job. It doesn't matter what it is. But going back to the girl, you know, it got to a point where one day I was just like,
oh, Hawaii or something. Yeah.
I said to her, I said, what's going on? And then she kept, you know, bringing it up. She's like, I have all these bills and all that. And I said to her, well, what is this doing for you? Because at the end of the day, she kept talking about Hawaii and this and that. I said, do me a favor. I was like, you need to, like, you went to Hawaii, you liked it there, you have some family there. That's where you could find work because that's your field. What's stopping you? Well, I have all this debt. I said, well, you sitting here, that debt is going to be here tomorrow too.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
I'm sure
whatever job you have right here, you can probably find over there. You never know. So I said to her, I said, do me a favor. I was like, you're never going to be happier. Wake up tomorrow. Book that one-way flight. Don't even look back, coming back.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. If I figured it out, I said, you'll figure it out. And she looked at me like her eyes opened up.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now,
it was pretty short, I think, right away.
And literally within a week, she's like, I'm going to Hawaii. And I was like, well, I was like, there you go. She went, she got a job, she's happy, she still talks to the girl, she comes and visits, you know, but
and she's like a different person.
It's a different,
you just feel the energy. We're huge on energy. We've had staff like that you can just tell that they're miserable and they kind of let it out on people, and then they make a little change, and all of a sudden all that positivity, and
I love
they do amazing.
when I see these kids succeed. I love when I see these kids become, there's so many that we have doctors, neurologists, we have
A lawyer, I think.
a lawyer. There's there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But keeping in touch with them, and I see them sometimes, it's like, it's the most amazing feeling because I had those people work for me and what they've become. It's a great feeling, to see these people grow and, and do things. I just feel like we have so much stress. Everybody just wants to rush into things, and I can't figure out what I'm going to do in my life. And like, here I am doing this. Oh, you'll figure out. No matter what you're doing out there, you're going to figure it out.
Be patient.
Patience is key.
If you're in your 20s, even early 30s,
enjoy
you
life.
don't have to have it all figured out. Just work hard. Whatever you're doing, do 110%.
Absolutely.
Show up on time, be that leader, and then other doors will eventually open.
It's got to happen sooner or later. It will. As long as you're not sitting around, hey, at least you're doing something. No matter what you do.
You could be that person that just graduated college and you're sitting crying about it in your parents' home.
Yeah.
At
least you have a job. At least it's paying your bills. You can still do the side. It's not, it's not like you're working at full time. You're just doing things on the side. You can.
Even if you are doing it full time.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying you could do it, you could do it that way where you will figure it out. I think the biggest issue that people have is they put too much stress in themselves that they're trying to figure out, like, oh, is this it? What am I going to do?
There's no patience and things.
And everybody wants to be on top right away.
Right.
It never works like that. You got to work your steps in life. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
And I think we have some amazing, even like managers that are in that journey now. And I love it. They are such hard workers. And I say it all the time. I was like, I know I'm not going to have you forever, but I really believe that their work ethic speaks volumes, and they are going to be so successful before we know it.
I don't want to talk about that. But we completely understand it. We tell them all the time, listen, we can't have everybody forever. But we enjoy what we do, and I think it's
work ethic is not taught through words. It's through action.
Absolutely.
So
no matter what you do, put 110%.
And work hard.
That's right.
So that's our episode of Work Ethic 101. Hope it helps a lot of first-time job seekers and parents. I really think I didn't realize this was going to be important for the parents, but please let your kid
be kids.
Grow up a little bit and, be an adult. The reason why we started doing the mini auditions, do you remember why?
No.
Yes, I'm going to say it. It was because we brought somebody in to do it, and we asked them to peel a banana, and they didn't know how to peel a banana.
That's happened a lot of times, though. That wasn't just one.
But that was the start of the auditioning. I understand maybe not knowing how to cut a banana, but you don't know how to open it, peel it. I don't know what's worse.
I don't know.
I'm going to go grab a banana and make sure both my kids know how to peel a banana. Okay? I think I'm going to put them through the peeling and the boost on training sessions.
Oh my God. They already do that.
Well, I know. They've been doing it since they were 2, I think.
They love doing that. They go to our store and they work in the kitchen. They like to do
mostly Luna, not so much.
Yep, little Lulu. Anyhow.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Please make sure to like the episode, follow us on Spotify.
You says subscribe
on YouTube. Yes. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. That's how.
Bye.